thing I most am insecure about my body is my stomach. I've always had a little bit of a tummy, and over the years it's just gotten bigger. And it didn't help that I've had issues with eating disorders and depression, and most of it had to do with how I hated myself and my body and the buildup of negative comments from my parents over the years, and putting that pressure onto me to have to look a certain way. I grew up with having a skinny brother, and my parents always commenting on how skinny he is and, oh, look at Luke, he's so skinny. And then I had the opposite, where it was, Chantel, stop eating. Chantel, that's enough. Like, don't have seconds. And when this all started, I was playing about 4 different sports. So I was bigger, yes, but I was also muscular. So it was really negative for me to hear all these comments, and really made me have a negative view on my body. And it was always hard for me to be able to look at my body and like what I was seeing, when everywhere around me I was so different than everyone else. And there was no one that I could look in the media and see, that's what I look like. That's a representation of me. And until the past couple of years, when we started to have curvy plus size models, did I finally see myself represented in media and in shopping catalogs and on fashion editorials. And that was something that was really a big breakthrough that helped me learn to love myself, was being able to see myself represented in mainstream media.
Ever since I was quite young, I always had especially my mom, always telling me, "Oh, you're so skinny, Luke, like, it's such a good thing and stuff," but then after repeatedly getting told this by everyone, except mainly, like, my sister, then obviously it would get into my head, and then I would always be like, "Oh, gotta stay skinny, can't make sure to be, like," I wouldn't say it was so much of, you can't be eating too much food, but it was more like, I would always be checking my weight, and then I would go on these big runs and try and make sure that I'm staying fit, and then trying to gain muscle too, because then I would always look at my friends and I wouldn't really consider them skinny. I would consider them more muscular than I was, instead of me, who's this scrawny little kid that was not muscular at all. Well, until like high school, when I started to work out a little bit more, but it got to be difficult at that time because I ended up getting diagnosed with arthritis when I was 14 years old. Shortly after graduating high school, I ended up getting a hip replacement and got to be quite insecure about the scar behind it because, well, it's a huge scar on the side of my body, and obviously I would end up being very scared to like show it to anyone. Mainly it would be like a significant other that I would be more insecure to show it to, but there's also days that I couldn't even leave my bed because of the amount of pain I was in, that I didn't end up doing stuff at school that like everyone else was doing, but yeah, better now, right?
My biggest physical insecurity is my stomach. Growing up in this generation, there's such a standard of what an ideal body looks like. The flat stomach, when I was 13, the thigh gap was really in, and like, that's not really something you can achieve unless you're built that way, you know?
I struggled for a lot of years to love my body, going from eating disorders to body dysmorphia, whether my nose was too crooked, my tummy not flat enough, my arms not toned enough, and finally I started to look at the small things I love about myself, the one I love most being my ankles.
I've struggled with thinking that others perceive me as too thin or too big, but to me, I'm perfect.
Something I like about myself, and I've always liked about myself, are my eyebrows.
The thing I love most about myself are my eyes. They have little green specks in them, which really enhances the blue.
After getting diagnosed with arthritis, I knew that something like running and playing a lot of sports that I tend to use my legs, such as like hockey and baseball and basketball. Obviously, I had to stop doing a lot of those sports. I started to work on my arms more, so that's something that I quite like about my body. And I started to like do a lot of push-ups every day, started to do a ton of chin-ups, and started to do arm curls and stuff. But yeah, I also ended up getting a few tattoos that started to help me appreciate my body more, also because of like there being more signs and meanings behind certain tattoos to help me to stay motivated.
The thing I love most about myself is my nose. It's something that I've always gotten a lot of compliments on, and I have a nice little swoop, and I feel really good about it, and it's the one thing that I completely love about myself through and through.